I just beat Resident Evil 9 on a standard playthrough, and the only thing that's really been running through my head was, damn, I wish I was a diehard fan of the series since at least 1998. Hell, why don't I even say the first game? I hopped onto the series a little around Resident Evil 4 when it came out for GameCube, and had a little fun with 5, and then tried 6 for maybe an hour before I noped out hard and didn't touch another mainline entry until Village. And I love Village, no question, but I still didn't grasp why survival horror diehards lose their minds over limited ammo and creaky doors. And about a month ago, I finally went full masochist and binged the entire mainline series from the remakes like it owed me money. I platted the RE2 remake, and I'll probably toss a retroactive card link up top, crushed the RE3 remake, and already had RE4 remakes plat tucked away like a trophy wife, gave 5 Story a quick revisit for the lore crumbs, white-knuckled one goddamn playthrough through 6, and holy shit, how did that hot garbage action fest not completely vaporize the entire franchise on site? Had a solid time with 7's sweaty nightmare vibes, and I'm gonna circle back to that more eventually, I think. Refresh on 8's wild plot tangents, and finally snagged Requiem. And where the hell do I even begin? Spoiler warning, this review is loaded with plot grenades, so if you're spoiler phobic, bail right now, blind play the game, then swing back to see if you vibe with the breakdown. What's up, you Raccoon City radiation poisoned scragglers? It's Locust, lifelong gamer, dealer of life-giving orgasms to your lady friend, and second, sometimes third, death to zombies everywhere. Before you start clutching your pearls and start getting mad that I'm making your wife happier than you ever could, smash that like button, drop a sub if you haven't already, and ring that goddamn bell for notifications. It keeps the channel breathing and lets me find more of you beautiful, broken weirdos who actually get it. And while you're at it, if you vibe with my verbal vomit, consider joining the Discord and join my streams to hang out with the rest of the lunatics. Links in the description as well. I still don't know why I attract the absolute craziest folks on the planet, but here we are. It is what it is. Link in the description. Now let's get into this Requiem review before I start naming names and ruining more marriages. Let's talk about the storytelling of this game. So why the hell do I wish I'd been a diehard since the PS1 days? Simple. From the instant Requiem fires up, you can feel it in your rotting guts. There's something straight up special about this bad boy. Even from my rookie ass vantage point, it screams culmination, like Capcom took every mainline Resident Evil, shoved them into a single throbbing blender, and hit puree. Requiem functions as a structural culmination because it reintroduces spatial puzzle design, such as Resident Evil 1 or 2, pressure-based combat routing, such as Resident Evil 4, and character-driven horror perspectives, such as Resident Evil 7 and 8, but layers them into alternating campaign roles instead of blending them simultaneously like Resident Evil 6 attempted. Requiem spits in the face of all those expectations RE6 plagued us with and crushes it with that pure, unadulterated Capcom black magic only they can conjure. You know, this shit might deserve its own standalone video, hell, a whole goddamn TED Talk. But what really hammered home that I wish I'd been a ride or die since the mansion regret was the return to Raccoon City's irradiated corpse, that husk of its former glory that would have not have landed like a tyrant pile driver if we hadn't waited a soul-crushing 30 years for it. Even me, a sideline spectating rookie who just hopped fully on the train, felt that gravitas slamming in the chest because you're not exploring Raccoon City like the earlier games. You're walking through what's left of it. It barely resembles anything functional anymore. It feels less like a location and more like a consequence. It's that meta layer, man. The agony of waiting really does juice a narrative into something transcendent. Last time I got this goosebump riddle euphoria was Capcom's Devil May Cry 5, a wide-eyed kid again, struck dumb with pure romance and wonder for video games as an art form. And here I am, a fresh-faced series noob, soaking up every ounce of that storytelling weight. But listen, incel, sometimes making fans stew is pure magic, like blue balling yourself for months, then unleashing a fire hose torrent of nut all over your lover. Mwah! Chef's kiss. But I'm getting ahead of my goddamn self here. Let's rewind back to square one before the nostalgia nut explodes all over the place. I might catch some heat from the peanut gallery for this, but there was this Twitter shitstorm where the outrage mob was screeching that Capcom pulled their female staff for feedback on making Leon a strapping, chiseled slab of Kennedy beefcake, but didn't do the same for Grace. Boo fucking who. I'm doing a philosophy video on this concept itself, which will be retroactively linked in the cards. Given the story, it makes perfect sense. You kick off as Grace Ashcroft, this shy, timid little waif who's drop-dead gorgeous under those nerdy-ass glasses she hides behind. In the opening scene, she's too chicken shit to even lock eyes with a local beat cop who's 3 rungs below her on the bureaucratic totem pole. bureaucrats. Ugh. Anyways, Grace gets saddled with investigating some freaky-ass disturbances at this crumbling, mold-festering hotel, the same exact shithole where she watched her mom get brutally eviscerated in a blink of an eye, and the trauma is still dripping. That clusterfuck spits her right into the lap of this sleazy prick, Victor, who scooped her up in this classy-looking mansion the second he acquired when Umbrella went under. But our bespectacled bookworm ain't no damsel, but she sure is in distress. Grace MacGyvers her nerdy wits into overdrive, slips Victor's greasy clutches, and starts prowling the mansion's labyrinth guts. What follows? A slow burn revelation fest, unearthing her own buried secrets and the sins of the fathers that hang over us all like an umbrella. All of this intrigue while you're ducking, dodging, distracting, capping, and sometimes exploding and exploring different facets of the undead. What hooked me hardest about Grace's arc, what I teased earlier, is watching her shed that timid shell. As the game rolls on, she digs deep and finds her spine of steel, bravery, strength, that commanding stride, and that ironclad resolve, and boom, confidence radiates off of her like hot shit. Me, I started seeing her in a whole new light. Nerdy glasses girl? Cute enough, but post-awakening Grace, damn, she's magnetic. Quiet authority, unshakable poise, and the kind of presence that turns heads without even trying. Proves what we all know deep down inside. Confidence is the sexiest thing in any room, outbreak or not. You see, not everyone's gonna strut in as a ready-made femme fatale like Ada Wong, dripping sex from frame one, red dress and all. That's the whole point though. Growth carves out legends, separates archetypes from forgettable filler. Hell, look at Leon's evolution. That fresh-faced rookie cop in Resident Evil 2, all wide-eyed, panic, and rookie mistakes. Then Resident Evil 4 rolls around, he's fierce, cocky survivor with that over-the-shoulder swagger, and now in Resident Evil 9, grizzled. Battle-hardened vet, scars and all, carrying the weight of 3 decades of outbreaks. I bet my last arb that Grace's arc straight up mirrors his timid to Titan arc. Speaking of which, let's talk about Leon. I don't know how else to put it. From the exact second Leon steps into frame, there's this electric charge in the air. Thick, brooding, undeniable. He's not pulling off acrobatic stunts or cracking one-liners. Nope. He's just there, exuding an aura of pure professional killer that'll slice straight through any bullshit and lay the scene bare. This is Apex Leon, fully forged, no training wheels, and the direction shows it without a single clunky line of exposition. It's all baked into the model, the scars, the stance, the eyes that have seen too much viral hell. And get this, Leon's packing a lethal T-virus payload in his veins. The clock is ticking like a motherfucker, ramping the stakes to nuclear. He collides head-on with Victor, who's already scooped up the knocked-out Grace like a sack of infected meat, and barely slips a noose in a frantic, breathless escape. But that slimy bastard isn't done. He flips a switch, and just like that, a full-on zombie apocalypse erupts through the city streets, bodies rising, screams cutting through the air, chaos swallowing everything in seconds. To me, this actually harkens back to Resident Evil 6, that same sprawling, multi-threaded clusterfuck of outbreaks and collapsing infrastructure, but this time it's not aimless excess. It's purposeful. Every shambling horde, every crumbling building, every desperate sprint from the terrified citizens feels like the series finally weaponizing its own history. The echoes are deliberate callbacks that make the stakes feel earned, not recycled. Leon's story is compelling from the jump, but there were some storytelling aspects that kind of irked me a little, but we'll talk about that a little later. As Leon, you rummage through Victor's mansion a little bit, which kind of reminded me of the professional Dante cleaning up Nero's mess in Devil May Cry 4, but the real meat and bones here is the return to the decrepit Raccoon City, and most specifically the Raccoon City Police Department, where it all started for Leon, and where he's met with a few familiar faces and PTSD flashbacks. The payoff for Leon's entire segment is incredibly earned, like 3 decades of viral bullshit finally cashing out in spades. From the jump, your welcome back gift is this irradiated arachnid abomination scuttling out of the shadows. Honest critique, they could have cranked the terror dial way higher on that ugly fucker. It's kind of a missed opportunity to make it a nightmare you'd piss yourself over.
I'm pissing myself over here.
But the scenario is executed like a goddamn surgeon, which drags us to another massive strength. The scenario writing here in this game is an absolute masterclass, Leon's chunk especially. Hurdles you from set piece to set piece with this relentless kinetic propulsion that feels 100% earned in every beat. We have not seen flows this tight in Hollywood since Die Hard 4. So, Hollywood execs, take notes. Cards linked in proof, but Exhibit A, Arishankar's Netflix Devil May Cry series. Unearned set piece after unearned set piece. Just slop factory drivel. Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem, it's the brutal show and tell of how far Tinseltown's tumbled into the grinder. Osaka is clearly the new Hollywood. I'll give it to you straight. This finale skips some sacred Resident Evil tropes, the classic Leon bolting from a self-destructing lab as klaxons blare, capped off with a rocket launcher coup de grace. And look, the setup was begging for it, ripe as a rotting ganado. So yeah, I'm not gonna bullshit you. Some of it left me a tad disappointed, but holy fuck, that ending, the good one obviously, oh my god man, it hits like a freight train of pure, unfiltered catharsis. So goddamn earned, it legit drags you back into that bygone Hollywood golden age. Every loose end knotted tight, but with this elegant, teasing whisper of what's lurking in the next outbreak. Perfection. In a lot of ways, Grace's tale is a straight up coming to self-assurance story. Girl's been adrift for years, gutted of parental anchors, and let's be real, no mom and no dad. That's a confidence black hole when you're trying to navigate this viral shit show we call life. Then Leon rolls in like the grizzled daddy she never had, doesn't coddle, just lights the fuse on those buried maternal instincts. Okay, not really, but you know, that's the way I like to see it. And then boom. Mama Bear mode kicks in hard, claws out, and suddenly she's got her footing, discovers who the fuck she is and what she's capable of. And that primal XX chromosome firestorm ignites from timid ghost to unbreakable force, which is pure arc gold. In Leon's arc, it's more of a man at a time kind of story. Grizzled vet dragging his T-virus riddled ass at the finish line, limping, bloody, and broken, which is my favorite trope ever. Don't fucking at me. It ain't trying to be some profound tear-jerking thesis. Nah, it's just straight fun and authentic. In my not so humble opinion, that raw energy resonates harder than any overwritten deep slop ever could. Netflix may cry. The storytelling, top fucking tier, down to the last meticulously crafted sound cue that'll make your spine tingle like a liquor ambush. But let's zero in on this absolute crown jewel, that elite balls to the wall voice acting. So, full disclosure, I'm a student of the Japanese language. Any chance to dive in and speak it, immerse myself like a motherfucker, I'm there. And holy shit, if the English voice acting's even sniffing the level of the Japanese track, it is straight up top tier. My Nihongo ain't advanced by a long shot, but the script is so goddamn tight and crisp, there's no fat that I was straight up shocked at how little I needed the subtitles to track every plot detail. That's prime writing for you, by the way. No bloated fancy words, no convoluted plot Rube Goldberg machines, just raw, riveting storytelling that hits with precision. But I digress. Hands down, my favorite voice in the game was Victor, slithering to life courtesy of Yutaka Aoyama. This bastard owns the slick menace role. His timber's this wild, effortless cocktail of calming velvet lace with sleazy oil and pure nefarious rot. It doesn't need to ham it up for a second, it's just straight hypnotic, but not in that creepy ASMR whisper shit, even though that's there. But no, it's really this sort of, holy fuck, how the fuck did Capcom nail this voice casting so goddamn perfectly? Leon, the guy is a goddamn minimalist poet in this one. Words rarer than yellow herbs, zero bloat clogging his pipes. His whole saga's etched into that weathered model. Every scar, every squint screaming. I've buried more Outbreak than you have had hot dinners. But when he does unleash a one-liner, holy shit, it lands like slugs from Balrog's fists. Brutal, precise, and zero mercy. Then you got Chirihori Kanjiya as Grace Ashcroft, clocking the lion's share of lines cause duh, this is her odyssey at its core. And brother, she absolutely demolishes that emotional gauntlet. Timid mouse to strong independent woman that don't need no Leon spine. If she needs to shatter, tears flow like viral blood. Mama Bear Protect mode, claws out, fierce as Nemesis. Not really. Frustrated, shocked, whatever black and emo shade this zombie action flick hurls her way, she conveys it in spades. And the cherry on top is those character models mirror the VAs flawlessly. Every micro twitch, every wide-eyed selling the performance like the pure RE engine witchcraft. Let's talk about the visuals. Resident Evil Requiem runs on the RE engine, which fuck me, I was today years old learning that it doesn't stand for Resident Evil engine, but Reach for the Moon engine. Aside from a handful of those hiccups and some nitpicking, it's damn near perfect. gorgeous decay lighting that'll make your skin crawl, and the whole works. Let's air the gripes quick. Capcom's the undisputed god kings of detail work, so yeah, I'm holding them to an impossible standard based on their track record. And since we're name dropping Capcom, peep Devil May Cry 5 from 2019. Watch Dante's feat while he's dual wielding pistols mid-strut versus a standard lock-on. The variety is insane. Subtle weight shifts, adaptive flair that sells every second of immersion and keeps the gameplay feeling alive and never stale. Now contrast this with Leon in Requiem. Swinging his axe? Ugh. It visually felt like the exact same goddamn arcs every single time. No matter the angle, the enemy's position, nada. Be real. Given what Capcom is capable of, it feels a tad lazy. We'll circle back to this in the gameplay deep dive later. Another issue is a nitpick again, but could really help in the immersive factor. I waste a zombie, his head's flopping off a ledge like a limp dick. Perfect timing, I shoot this object to MacGyver a bridge, and it plops right onto the skull. You'd figure that the pure weight and gravity would pulp that rotten melon on impact, right? Send its brains flying, bits everywhere. Pure gore satisfaction. But no, the head clips straight through the ghost, then perches comfy on the surface of my makeshift bridge. The lighting deserves its own goddamn spotlight though. It's dynamic in ways that feel alive. Shadows stretch and twitch like they're hunting you, pulling you in corners where you know something is waiting. Ray trace reflections catch on the blood-slick floors, shattering windows and rusted rebar with a clarity that makes every surface feel tactile. The way the light bleeds through the cracked blinds in Victor's mansion or cuts harsh beams across Raccoon's skeletal streets turns mood into a weapon. It's not background fluff, it's actively ratcheting tension, making you second guess every shadow. Then there's this particle and environment detail work. Explosions do more than just flash and fade. Chunks of concrete and flesh scatter with weight, sliding realistically before they even settle. Fog rolls in thick, choking layers you can practically taste. Rain hammers down in sheets that drum on metal roofs like incoming fire. Every environment breathes decay. Raccoon City's overgrown streets feel abandoned for decades. There's this decrepitness strangling the billboards while Victor's mansion reeks of faded luxury. Healing guilt, there's probably moth-eaten velvet. It's a hulking old sanitarium Victor scooped up post-umbrella collapse, decked out in that classic Spencer mansion vibe. Baroque grandeur gone rotten with crenellated towers, ornate columns, sweeping staircases, chandeliers dangling like nooses, checkered marble floors, and those putrid green ivory walls that scream mad scientist's wet dream. Think neoclassical meets Gothic revival, curved arches, heavy moldings, and statues lurking in the shadows. Capcom went above and beyond building these sets. They built tombs with personality, each one shifting tone depending on how the light hits or how the weather turns. It's obsessive, immersive, and sticks in your head long after the credits roll. Let's talk about the sound here. Straight up copy and paste from my Resident Evil Remake review, and then the cards will be linked up on top, whether retroactively or now. It is so goddamn good. It mostly feels like that there is none at all. That's the black magic, subtle as a hunter's breath on your neck. Most of Requiem unfolds in pitch black hellholes, dodging those big, hulking motherfuckers that lumber through the labyrinths like aimless anteaters sniffing for meat. You're resorting to pure audio cues to clock if it's clear for that desperate sprint across the hall, or if you can duck into the cabinet shadow, heart hammering, body quivering like you're one wrong step away from becoming kibble. As for the soundtrack, nothing really stood out and cracked my skull open except for Leon's standard battle track. That thing is a straight up masterpiece in my opinion. Whoever composed it was clearly a Noisia disciple chugging that neurofunk elixir straight from the source. I've been a diehard Noisia junkie myself for close to 2 decades at this point, so yeah, it kind of had me feeling like the original Batman whenever I was swinging that axe around. Speaking of axe, let's use it to cut through the meat and bones of this game, which is obviously the gameplay. What Resident Evil Requiem boils down to its rotten core is this savage amalgamation of every mainline entry that's clawed its way before it. Yeah, even that RE6 dumpster fire, all fused together seamlessly. It mostly works with maybe 1 or 2 seams splitting open. Grace and Leon, for example, polar opposites by design, each carving their own bloody niche. First playthrough, I stuck to the standard first person for Grace, nail biting crawl, third person over the shoulder for Leon's glory. Swap him if you want, no skin off my ass. Grace's stretch is pure scarcity hell, wading waist deep in ammo droughts, herb famines, every corner a potential threat in itself, straight survival horror soul. Scarcity works because the enemies are somewhat predictable. When you die, it's not randomness, it is because you mismanage space or resources. And that fairness makes the tension feel earned instead of cheap. Then Leon hits, Cathartic does not even scratch it. It's a full-throated power fantasy orgasm unleashing pent-up apocalypse wrath like you've been blue-balled since Raccoon City 1998. After hours of being told to avoid conflict, the game finally lets you dominate it. Gameplay gripes, believe it or not, just two. And the first one's Leon's CQC bitch fest that we chewed over earlier. That axe-swinging loop feels half-baked on variety. Yeah, the melee prompts pop after a slick parry, or you club a zombie skull into a hamburger with a machete, but man, where's the combo juice? Give me chains, strings, something to make you feel like a whirlwind of death. Hell, weave Leon's fists with a timid axe work. Picture cracking jaws with knuckles before cleaving heads. Visceral, lethal, and the whole works. I usually don't shill God of War as the AAA Bible, but come on. They turned a single axe into a ballet of brutality. Capcom could have borrowed that page without selling out. And then there's my second gripe. Those early in-game switches between Grace and Leon are jarring as hell because the game resets risk evaluation before players internalize Grace's rules. You're deep in Grace's scarcity, sweat survival horror, scraping on fumes, and then bam, Leon drops in like a goddamn apocalypse janitor, turning rooms that previously shit-kicked you into casual Tuesday mop-ups. Cathartic? Abso-fucking-lutely. Then snap back to Grace's tension. Rinse, repeat. It's whiplash though, especially since those first Leon segments are unmercifully short. Don't get me wrong, those Leon bursts are gold. Chainsaw swinging doctors getting mulched, attic cat and mouse where Leon straight up the cat LARPing as a mouse, scrambling helplessly, drawing out the giant fucker that ragdolled Grace earlier. Except that beast is the real mouse LARPing as a cat and is all bluster and no bite once the roles flip. And then inject pure 90s action flick levity and I ate it up. But in my book, it fractures the pacing, something fierce. Reeks of Capcom lacking the confidence to just let us marinate in Grace's raw survival horror without yanking the rug. I remember playing as Leon in these segments and thinking to myself, what is even the point of this? Because at that point, it sucked all the horror out of the survival horror component from the game, you know? But that's where the negative stuff ends. Guys, I don't know how to sugarcoat this shit without neutering it. Resident Evil Requiem had my butthole puckered tighter than a virgin's grip through Grace's entire playthrough, like a lifetime sentence of anal kegels on death row. The whole time was, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. How the hell am I dragging my ass from point A to point B with this pathetic scrap of ammo and herbs? I'm a dead man. I'm fucking done. I've got a video dropping or already out on Scarcity Consciousness in the survival horror genre, and the cards are linked if it's live, but good lord, Grace's segment delivers that knife edge tension in absolute spades. Pure, unfiltered, original game dread that'll have you sweating bullet. That said, as her sections ramped up and Capcom trickled out more tools, I felt myself growing bolder in her kit, mechanical confidence blooming right alongside her arc, turning the I'm so cooked into watch me handle this shit. That is absolutely fantastic game design at play. What Requiem nails, it is forcing you to master every goddamn mechanic in your arsenal. No hand-holding, no tutorials, just sink or swim brilliance. Let's take the meat grinder gauntlet for example. Capcom doles out just enough ammo to scrape by if you're a spray and pray chump. But once you clock the cheese, you're hoarding bullets like a doomsday prepper. Pop a zombie's leg once or twice, watch that fucker stumble like a drunk ganado, then boot his ass straight into the whirring blades. Chugga, 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 splat! Free kills, ammo intact for the real shit later. And the enemy weaknesses? Ooh yeah. Some abominations melt to specific crafts, like whipping up a bottle of acid and hucking it out of liquor. Face dissolved in seconds. Good night. It hammers home crafting's god tier importance without a single lecture. Pure, emergent, Resident Evil genius. Fantastic does not even begin to cover it. A ton of Grace's gameplay is all about slinking around gracefully. Pure stealth mode, tiptoeing like a ghost in the fog, never crossed my mind as a zombie game staple. Shamblers are dumb as bricks, right? Not patrolling, just shuffling sacks of rot waiting for a headshot. But in Requiem's context, it makes perfect fucking sense. Those patrols amp the dread, turn every shadow into a heart beat skipping trap, and gives you the sense of what it feels like to escape a house of horrors. Stealth got its toes dipped in Resident Evil 7 and Village, sure, but it never fully clicked for me, or maybe Capcom hadn't fully cooked it at that point. But this entry completely nailed it. Hell, probably flew right over my thick skull before. Now, when you finally grab the controls for Leon, man, like I hinted earlier, it feels like Resident Evil 6, or more accurately, what Resident Evil 6 should have been if Capcom hadn't snorted too much of that Gears of War pixie dust and slapped a lazy horror facelift onto it. Mechanically, picks up right where RE4 left off. You're not some wannabe Nathan Drake parkour prick like Resident Evil 6 tried to force feed us. Nah, it's the same old Leon, grizzled vet with a few nasty tricks tucked in his jacket. His whole arc is pure 90s action movie jaunt, mulching overgrown arachnids under your boot, a rail shooter fever dream, tearing ass on a motorcycle through raccoon skeletal ruins, which feels kinda familiar. Dismantling a non-zombified Spec Ops death squad like their target practice, and a climax so top fucking tier. Okay, dude, I'm done tiptoeing around this like I'm some fucking IGN suit. This game is just fucking awesome. Each gun feels different, and you get to build them up and customize them all dependent on the playstyle. Each arena requires you to use the environment to your advantage. Some enemies will have projectiles that include guns, mind you, so therefore you're ducking for cover, where other places will include corridors that you'll need to utilize in order to bottleneck your foes and dismantle them with whatever heavy-hitting firepower you've been hoarding in your arsenal. But that's not to say that there's one way to play. A skilled player will be able to find multiple ways to get from point dis to point memberment. For example, when approached with these lickers, you can sneak around them and use stealth kills without alerting the other ones lurking around, allowing you to save your ammo for another undead sweetheart that does not respect your personal space.
Stay out of my personal space.
As for puzzles, this is the first survival horror game where I did not crack open a single goddamn guide to drag my chud ass through the blind playthrough. I'm gonna give myself a nice little shoulder pat for that one, boys and girls. They're not some tedious pixel hunt ball ache or some Einstein brain melters. Nah. Intuitive as breathing, never slamming the brakes on the momentum. And that's a hallmark of God tier design in my book. Seamless flow and zero frustration. As for the plat hunt, yeah, I'll probably break down and consult a guide for those last collectible stragglers. And if you don't like it, well, suck my dick. In terms of boss fights, with Grace, you have one that doesn't exactly feel like a boss fight, more like a super heavy, which is absolutely acceptable in my opinion. With Leon, you have quite a few boss fights, all of which carry some semblance of weight and are completely memorable in their own way. One of them being a very familiar face. They're fun, man, and a lot of them are throwbacks, with the absolute last boss being the most fascinating in my opinion with how cool the reveal for it was, because I'll leave it to the lore whores to corroborate this, but I get the feeling it was in your face the whole time. I will say, occasionally, the mobility of Leon dealing with some of these bosses didn't feel like it was fluid enough to pull off the vision of what the game was trying to pull off. But again, that was a nitpick, because in the grand scheme of everything, I really did enjoy every single one of them, probably more than I should have. In conclusion, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks Resident Evil Requiem exceeded all expectations. This was the first game since 2019 where I felt the developers' love and passion ooze from every orifice of this beautiful reanimated corpse. And oddly enough, that was a Capcom game as well. It's almost as though that when Capcom is clear on its vision for what it wants to deliver, they will 10 out of 10 times knock it out of the ballpark. The storytelling holds a lot of weight, and the gravitas of it is palpable. The gameplay loop is incredibly fun, compelling, and in its own survival horror way, even expressive. But above all, feels complete, polished to a bloody sheen. DLC probably lurking, but if this is Requiem's full rot, I am beyond fucking satiated, balls empty, and soul full. Though it's not perfect, it's damn close to the point that as of writing this, I cannot wait to give you the final score so I can go back and play it right now and grind away at the platinum for it. I got it, by the way. What makes Requiem work is that it finally stops forcing horror and action into the same moment. Grace forces you to survive through the terror, through scarcity and stealth, while Leon lets you conquer it with power and swagger. That clean separation gives both sides room to breathe, letting survival horror feel suffocating again and action feel cathartic without clashing. And the result, both halves hit harder, feel authentic, and the game exhales after years of identity crisis. I find myself trying to figure out where I rank this one. I think I like it a little more than 2 Remake, but I do think 4 Remake is a little more consistent in terms of pacing. So yeah, let's just take the casual playthrough of this game with 9.8 feasts out of 10 famines. But be sure to check back in later to see what I rate the platinum review for this game when I inevitably complete that gauntlet. I'm Locus, it's been real. If you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a sub if you're not logged in yet. and ring that goddamn bell for notifications so you don't miss the next outbreak of verbal diarrhea. I'll catch you in some dilapidated bar in Raccoon City, hopefully sometime soon, just so long as the spiders crawling around that shithole have bodies small enough to fit entirely into my palm. No 8-legged tyrants welcome. Jamais.